Yes, indeed. Good evening. Sometimes the only thing we can do is be glad. That's what I'm going to try and do tonight. I am again the Old Wolf. Welcome to another episode of the Dancing with Wolves. I want to shout out my sister, Jamie, Lord Vader's wife. Hang in there, sister. I know you're going to dance that morning sickness, but you and Derek got this. Hello also to Lisa King out there and the witchy bitchy Nikki. Good evening to everybody listening everywhere, anyhow, anyway. So yes, just to kind of clarify, the thoughts, expressions, viewpoints, opinions, everything else that pretty much comes out of my fucking mouth is mine. Unless I'm talking about something in particular, and listen, my intent is not to offend. So if you're easily triggered, you might want to run for the fucking door now. If not, sit back, enjoy. We're going to talk about tonight's episode, the magic of music. I'm also going to talk about some upcoming events going on between here, New York, Jersey, and Pennsylvania, here in the tri-state area. Again, I always like to try and find the common elements, and it's not always easy. My witch, Shia, was trying to do her best to kind of pump me with that positive, cheery unicorn energy of hers. And I was in fucking wolf mode. I just growled at her. I'm like, don't try and make me laugh. I don't want to laugh. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it. And I'm just like, all right, I'm a fucking asshole. And this is what happens when you're a wolf. you're around humans, and humans tend to do fucked up, shitty things to each other. And as an empath on top of that, so again, double barrel scenario, an empathic fucking wolf, I have a hard time processing it. I look at the behaviors, I look at the stupidity, and my brain and my heart can't get around it sometimes. So I internalize it because it's a lesser evil versus just absolutely going apeshit. So yeah, that's my struggle. So this is part of my therapy, my shadow work. It also allows me to support the people that I believe in, that I care for, musically, artistically, and otherwise. Special shout out to Brian Judah over there, WRFC Radio, had a birthday Saturday. Really cool weekend we had. Want to shout out my brother Ed Contini, one of the newest members of the Pocketful of Wolves. Will be performing with me and my son and a bunch of others October 7th up here, upstate New York, the House of Guitars, our first WRFZ rock show. Whole bunch of bands are going to be there. Brian's band, Days End, the Mick and Mac Show, Hollowell, who I'm going to play a little bit later, Ayla Huff, I'm going to play a little bit later, my brother Gary Mara and his band Skyway. It's going to be a really cool time, and Gary sat in with us Sunday. We literally did an old school garage jam at Ed Contini's house Sunday, and, you know, kind of entertained the neighborhood. And it was really beautiful getting back into those old kind of dynamics. You know what I mean? Not a lot of fanciness, not a lot of fluff, just a bunch of fucking guys in the garage trying to find ways to make the sound work. My brother Mark Tunnell on drums, fucking incredible guy. He just got back there and he was just like, okay, where you want to go? My son even got up and picked up that guitar and we had a blast. I love my sisters out there, Diane and Ativia, and a special shout out to Ativia's son, Tony, who I'm just going to read this, okay, because it's another proud mom moment for her. He has been accepted to participate in the Genesee Regional Special Olympics. He's been chosen by the Pittsburgh Wreckers bocce team, and the tournament's going to be September 16th at Nazareth College, which is really fucking beautiful and really incredible. Tony's birthday is coming up Friday, September 8th. We're going to get together with them and help celebrate it. Tony's a great guy, and he's finding his way in the universe with the rest of us. I see my sister goes from Lord Vea's wife to Leah. This is going to be one of those nights I'm not going to be able to tell who the fuck is who. So you're going to have to do something to let me know who the hell's who. I'm thinking Leah is probably somebody else, but maybe not. I don't know. I can't tell anymore. This is what happens. For those of you at home who actually are watching versus listening this podcast, you can see that opening graphic is from last year's Arts for Autism show. On the left there, sporting the bling with the Arts for Autism hat and the pocket full of wolf shirt is my brother Jonathan Porter, all the way from out there in Oklahoma, came out to join us. Jonathan and I did a track last year called Time of the Phoenix. He and I are working on yet another new track. And the guy sticking the tongue out is the infamous Chris Miller, Tattoo Tony's walking billboard. I had Tony on the other night for the radio show, and, you know, the running joke is, brother man's got to have a lot of tattoos to cover up all that pasty white skin, because that's how my brother Chris rolls. Good evening, Amy, and everybody else listening. So, yeah, first thing I'm going to talk about, because that's the first show around the corner, really, September 23rd, okay, is going to be the Under My Skin for Life's annual Arts for Autism show, and I'm going to throw it up here for folks to be able to see. There we go. That's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. down in Port Monmouth, New Jersey. For those of you who don't know Port Monmouth, that's Route 36 on your way to Sandy Hook. Great little community, hop, skip away from some beautiful ocean. one of the areas of the Jersey Shore that hasn't been destroyed like others. And if you've never been out to Sandy Hook, definitely worth the exploration. Bunch of good bands are going to be playing there. Obviously, Broken Past, Meadowland, Purgatory, Black Rose Rebellion, Lunatic Chair, Spawn Ranch. And I believe Johnny Pipe is going to be out there as well, too. I know this is not exactly an updated flyer. When Tony and I were talking the other night, I know one of the bands had to drop out, and that's how, Johnny Pipe came in. But listen, these guys are all part of Frank Tonra's Minister of Metal's circle of metal bands. The Jersey militia scene lives on. Going to be a lot of really cool people there as well. Jose Hernandez Jr., who's a noted actor, was in the original HBO series Oz, as well as Blue Buds and a few others. Samoa Inouye, Gene Snitsky, Brimstone. These are guys who have been active in the wrestling scene for a number of years. The 501st Regiment, which is the Star Wars guys, are going to come out in full costume. And you never know who's going to show up for one of these things. And did I mention it's a free event? There'll be other things, there'll be vendors and stuff if you want to spend some money. The foundation always has auctions for all kinds of cool things, be it signed memorabilia from, different artists and performers over the years. We've had guitars signed by Loretta Lynn, Marshall Tucker, guys from other bands like Overkill, Accept, Black Label Society. Ron Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses has been a big supporter. The list goes on and on. I'm sure I'm going to forget about a whole lot of people because I can't even remember my own fucking name half the time. But I want to shout out Amy and Christine and my brother Joshua Pitts. He's one of the guys that I've been promoting actively, his band Bonded by Darkness. They've got a couple of shows coming up as well, too, that I'm going to talk about in a little while. Always great to see you, brother. I know you've been pushing those mad hours, so you hang in there. Christine's like, her father took her to see Black Label Society and Metallica. Now, that's a fucking great lineup. Another great lineup. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna cut to this now anyway. I just gotta pull it up because I had it set up here, but it was in the list for later. But since we're mentioning lineups, and we're just gonna get to it. Dun, 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 dun. Yes. Another great show that's going on October 7th besides the first WRFC Rock Show. If you folks are in the Pennsylvania area, really cool band by the name of Frail is going to be playing with no other than Joshua Pitts. Now, let me tell you something. I'm fans of both these bands. And having both of these bands, and I got the date wrong, it's October 20th. October 7th is a different Bonded by Darkness show. See, this is what happens when you do a thing like this fucking live. You fuck it up. So, yeah, welcome to my first fuck up of the evening. Probably won't be the last. Hello, my sister Tamara. Hey, taking off before you head to your fantasy football draft. Cool. Listen, enjoy it. You know what I mean? We all got to have something that makes us dance. So, yes, October 20th. Okay. And this show is going to be down at the Foundry in Lakewood, Ohio. Frail and Bonded by Darkness. Now, I know there's a couple other bands. I don't even know how to pronounce this one band and TBA. But I tell you what, Frail and Bonded by Darkness is fucking enough. It's a show I would love to go to. I'm not sure if we can pull it off with everything that we got going on here. But, man, that's going to be fucking kick-ass. As my brother Josh says, hashtag ass blistering metal, two incredibly powerful female-fronted bands. That's going to be a great fucking show. And I'll see if I can sneak my brother Josh on before then and see what else he's got up his sleeve. I know him and Raven are up to some cool stuff. They got a new drummer. So they're always weaving some fucking magic. But before that, yeah, September 23rd, if you're down in the Jersey Shore area, go check out a free show with a bunch of bands, vendors, wrestlers, actors, all kinds of cool stuff. It's a family-friendly event, so, feel free to bring your kids. This event that's been going on for many years, my son and I belong to the Under My Skin for Life Foundation, is to raise money for autism awareness, specifically for an autism school in Red Bank called Oasis Farms. One of the things that we have been more focused on over the years, and that was thanks to the direction of our brother and leader, Tony Rodriguez, was to really focus it more into some of the local dynamics. And local dynamics reflect whatever community that you're in. Should it be like my sister Stephanie? Her and her kids are down in Texas, but we went to Texas to support and hang out with them and their family. Or if it's, again, Rochester, New York, where Shai and I and my son are now, or if it's in Ohio, where Josh and his family is, or wherever the fuck you may be, it doesn't matter. It could be New Orleans, okay? It could be Brooklyn, where my brother Pete Pallas and his band Annika are from. We're going to be talking about them in a little while. What affects us no matter where we are. So the same struggles every community are going through, be it issues of autism, be it issues of seniors or veterans or any number of analogies. Maybe it's just somebody that needs a wheelchair ramp or somebody's house burnt down or any number of analogies. You know, the Under My Skin for Life Foundation also does a lot of work for kids with cancer, the different children's wards in the local hospitals. You know, when people ask, hey, what can I do to make a difference? Fucking donate. Volunteer your time. Do something outside of the box. And even say, hey, listen, even if you don't have the money, that's cool. You know, it's understood. Not everybody can do the same things. Give a like. Give a share. You know, especially when you're talking about a free show. Show up if you can. Give them a little bit of a, hey, thanks. Give them a clap. Anything you can do helps. Even if it's just spreading the word. Even if it's just understanding that just because we have these labels on things doesn't make people less than. And especially if you're talking about a label like autism, there are many, many, many myriads of spectrums when it comes to this. And I personally, and I'm not going to go off on a deep rant, I think it's one of those fucking rubber stamps that the medical community just likes to, let me just stick this here and throw some drugs at it. Yeah, children are not that simple. It's not that easy, okay? Which is why I've been an advocate, and my brother Tony and a whole lot of others have been doing this for a long time and will continue to do it. Because here's the simple truth. If we don't fucking take care of each other, who's going to do it? Okay? That's the simple truth. So will we do what we can? So yes, September 23rd, we've got that coming down the pike. Now, again, there have been a lot of really cool people over the years, you know, when we talk about the autism event, you know, and again, for those of you who are actually watching versus listening, yes, that's my son, okay? We call him the Indigo Monkey. He'll be performing with us October 7th at the upcoming show that I'll talk about a little bit later. But he performed last year with us in Pocket Full of Wolves at that show. You got my sister Gia, who's a crazy artist, musician, parent, and a really cool sister. Okay, and you can see her sporting her Arts for Autism shirt from last year. And then we go a little bit further, and yeah, there's me again. Obviously, you can see the Old Wolf patch. It's official. I actually am an official Old Wolf. I have the patch on my vest to prove it. That scary-looking guy in the middle, again, is Chris Miller. Just, again, this time, he's not sticking out his tongue. And on the right is Suzanne Kuhn, who wrote the words and helped produce a track that Shia did with me called Her Desperate Mind. And you can see, again, the Arts for Autism local. So these are all people that I talk about that actually do exist in real life. Okay. We talk about Pocket Full of Wolves. There's my brother, Greg Carr Schumann, who will be performing up here with us October 7th. He's coming all the way up from Jersey to do the show with us. You can see him and his girl Jeanette and brother man Randy there with the Pocket Full of Wolves. He sung with us on stage, and he's going to sing with us again this year. Okay, again. And just because somebody is, quote unquote, on the spectrum, as my sister Tamara says, her grandson's on the spectrum, it doesn't define who we are. If in any ways, I think they have more magic, they have more truth to them because they're not caught into the bullshit illusions that the rest of us so-called normal people get swept up into. And I know this not only from being a parent, but from working with children and adults who are, quote unquote, on the spectrum for many, many years. And of course, how could I not forget? And you can see he's just kind of, my brother, Tony Rodriguez, looking off into the distance, bass in hand. You see my brother's covered with, yeah, a lot of us got tattoos. Sometimes people get freaked out by it, but listen, this is just how we express ourselves. These are professional people, family people, doctors, lawyers, police officers, musicians, teachers, first aid responders. We're more alike than we're not. We just got to cut through the bullshit. And music is magic. And that magic can cut through it all. Yeah, my sister, Stephanie, she's right. They have special abilities, not special needs. And that is the difference. Sometimes it's language. Language is that big, it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. You know what I mean? Because everybody's got a different take on it. Everybody's got a different perspective. You say potato, I say potato. I was joking with Shia the other day and we were cruising around and we were using the analogy and she's like potato. And I said pedophile. You know what I mean? Because you never know. Just because it appears as a potato, maybe it's just a pedophile hiding in disguise. And that's the insanity of what we live in. So much is driven by fucking illusion. You have people pretending to be, hey, I'm this, when they're not. And many times it's just a smokescreen to conceal the real horror that they want to unleash. Not unlike a fucking tick. It'll hide in the trees, wait for you to walk by, fucking drop on down, find a nice spot to fucking bury itself in, and then just start sucking the life out of you. Now, some of us know how to deal with it. It's not easy. I recently met somebody that's going to be up at the Rockin' Oddities Con, and she refers to herself as the vampire witch. And in our conversation, it was really cool because she's actually made an art out of this dynamic, not in the classic sense that she's running around, doing that, sparkly fucking vampire-y bullshit. Blood, let me drink your blood. No. Energy is energy, and people can take energy, they can give energy, and some energy is shitty and negative, but it can be reprocessed. The same analogy that I use with radiation. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't fucking real, and it doesn't especially mean that it isn't going to fuck you up if you choose to ignore it. Guess what? Radiation doesn't give a fuck about your opinion, doesn't give a shit about your beliefs, doesn't care what color your skin is, who you're fucking, who you maybe want to fuck and can't fuck, or who's fuck. None of that matters. Radiation's just like, fuck it, I'm going to melt you. I don't care who you are. That is the difference. And that understanding, unfortunately, escapes us a lot of times. We have perceptions of things. You say a word like magic or witchcraft. Yeah, you know what? These are outdated words. They work in some analogies. The only thing that's true is we don't really know. We know a little bit, and we're learning a little bit more here and there. But I say it all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it. What we called magic 100 years ago, we call fucking technology. Guess what? 200 years ago, if you had shown up anywhere in Europe with a CD player, that would have been your ass. They would have burnt you at the fucking stake for witchcraft. And especially depending upon what you were listening. God forbid you were listening to some fucking Metallica or some Slayer, and they heard that shit. Oh yeah, that would be your ass. Now it's just fucking music. It's a music player. But this is how time changes things. It changes perspective, and we're only limited by our understanding. Hell, listen, there are people out there that still think the fucking world is flat. You know what I mean? And I can agree to disagree on certain things, but I'm at a point in my life, you know what? I'm tired of playing nice. If you're going to come at it with fucking pure stupidity from some insane bullshit thing, because you saw a Facebook meme or because a clown came to you in your dream and was just like, you know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here. Leave the rest of us alone. Okay? And some of this is just reflective of base human fallacies, greed, contempt, jealousy. You know what I mean? Let's not kid each other. The powers that be have been talking the same bullshit time upon time. And if you look at history, what happens in history? Cultures and civilizations fall apart because a select group of few who are too fucking stupid to understand anything outside of their fucking gray poupon, imaginary existence, that they fuck it up for everybody else. Okay? And a lot of people are seeing this. Times are fucking changing. Okay? Mother Nature, she don't give a fuck anymore. People are talking about, hey, the earth is going to take care of itself. Right. The earth is going to take care of itself. And as far as the earth is concerned, we're a fucking virus, okay? So nature's going to start throwing the big guns. And maybe it's, this. Maybe it's a fucking hurricane that's going to go swallow fucking Florida. Maybe it's going to be an earthquake or a volcano over here. Maybe it's going to be another fucking pandemic. Or maybe it's going to be our own stupidity by doing things like dumping toxic chemicals into our water supply or burning shit that if you smell it, your fucking nose melts. Okay, some of this, again, it's not rocket scientists, but hey, it's in the name of $1, right? But guess what? What does all that fucking money mean when you can't grow food, or there's no drinkable water left, or the air you breathe gives you diarrhea on contact? Okay? And this is what's coming down the pike. So I'd rather be wrong for the right reasons, and I'm not going to go too far. See, this is what happens when I'm an angsty wolf. I was like, I'm going to be all love. I'm so glad. Then I'll start fucking snarling, and it's like, humans fucking suck, man. Not all of us. So enough ranting. One of the other events that are coming up. Yes, much historical's coming down the pipes. Listen, and those pipes are coming from a deep old sewer system. So there's a lot of shit that's been built up into those fucking pipes. Who the fuck knows what's going to crawl out of that next? And listen, if you follow any of the news, there's always some fucking tragedy, insanity going down. We've got a new COVID variant that's dancing around. People are getting all sick again. I'm hearing whispers about, do we go back to the mask? Do we, you know what? If we can't all get on the same page, it isn't going to fucking matter. Okay? This is the nature of disease. This is basic science 101. Okay, so everybody just strap on and get ready for the ride. Do the best you can to protect you and yours. But this is the reality of what we live in. So you take care of your own. You do what you can. You try and make a difference. We're going to try and put on these shows and make some things happen before they lock us all down again. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? I'm going to keep making music. And as... my sister Stephanie says, if you can smell a fart through a mask, yeah, listen, again, a lot of this is just illusion. You know what I mean? It's like all those, beer commercials where all these sexy ladies in bikinis are like, oh, you drink Heineken, I want to fuck you now. Guess what? That doesn't happen in real life, okay? The only way that happens is if you give the girl 30 fucking Heinekens and get her so drunk that she doesn't know what the fuck is happening. But guess what? I have another word for that. And that word is called rape. Assholes. Okay? So anybody that thinks that this is a cool thing, okay, if anybody knows anybody that's been through addiction or seen the side effects of alcoholism in its many myriad forms, don't even try and pretend to me like this is somehow a fucking good thing. I don't give a shit if Dos Equis makes a profit or Budweiser goes underground because, the big thing now is, well, if trans people are drinking Bud Light, the rest of us, like drinking a fucking beer is going to make you gay. All of a sudden going to make your dick fall off and all of a sudden you're going to start running around like Eddie Izzard, like, oh, hi there, it's good to see you. No, that's not how it works, man. Wake the fuck up. People have been drinking Bud Light for generations, and you know what? It hasn't happened. But see, nobody had a problem with it when it was Klinger from MASH, or if it was Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire, or all the other analogies where it was funny and cool. Oh, look, it's a guy dressed up like a woman. But a guy or a girl who identifies as something else drinking Bud Light, oh my God, that's too far. What a sacrilege. What a crime against all these poor children. They're trying to convert our children. Listen, if your children can get converted by a fucking beer commercial, you're the one fucking up. It's not the beer commercial's fault. Wake up. All right, enough ranting. Yeah, Shia's like rant more. I don't want to. So I'm going to jump into some music. And I'm going to talk about this first so that I don't fuck it up. Otherwise, I'll just get lost in the mix. October 28th, 29th, Shia and I are going to be out at this. This is an open invitation for anybody to come out to Saratoga Springs for Halloween weekend for a fucking blast of a weekend. Okay? Saratoga Springs, October 28th, 29th, the Rockin' Oddities Con. It's going to be all kinds of shit. We're talking bands. We're talking witches, belly dancers, vampire witches, cosplay, X-Files, paranormal. You fucking name it, it's gonna be there. It is going to be off the fucking hook. And I'm privileged and honored to be supporting this event, as well as promoting a bunch of the bands and the people involved. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut to one of the new ones. There's a band, by the way, called Black Belt Jones. And this is a track of theirs called Killers. And then we'll be back.
Discontent in our heart, and it won't go away. I heard she buried a few far in between, blessing their soul. I can hear them scream, she's a killer. 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 She's a killer.
Yo, come on, man, wake up.
Hey.
We got a show.
Come on.
Come on, we gotta get to the show.
Man.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hey, could we not play killer?
We have to play killer.
No, I don't want to play killer.
So yeah, a little bit of Black Belt Jones, who will be performing live October 28th, 29th at the Rocket Oddities Con, Saratoga Springs. Everybody is invited. If you can get out there, it's going to be a fucking hell of a weekend. I see my sister Diana, the Assassin Queen. Hello, fellow human beings. Good evening. Love and miss you, sister. Diana's been on the podcast a couple times. She's a really, really good poet. She's got a fucking kick-ass sense of humor. She's also a parent. She's a survivor. She's a fighter. Dare I say, she's a witch. And that's one of those loaded words again. But getting back to the theme, the magic of music. Music, and I've talked a lot about this, for me is my magic. I translate a lot of not only how I feel, but what I think, my perceptions through the music, because a lot of times I can't vocalize it other ways. And my background being what it is, it's really better for everybody else. Okay, I joke with Shy, but it is the running joke with the people who really know me. As a wolf, my first instinct is to fucking kill. Okay? That which violates the natural order does not deserve to exist. Now I know that's a me thing. It's my problem. I own it. Okay? And I'm continually working on being a friendlier, nicer, dare I say, a more cuddly wolf. You can feel me cringing as I say the words. But I have a witch who's desperately attempting to tame me, and you should all give her sympathy and support, because I am not easy by any shape of the imagination. But the magic of music has been one of the best therapies, at least for me. And in my experiences, I've used it a lot in working with people on the spectrum, be it autistic or otherwise. I've used it to help other people through their pain. I did a track last year for a friend of ours, Roxana, called Mama Rocks, who lost her daughter tragically. Daughter was murdered. and it devastated her, as it would any parent. So myself, Tom Hampton, Tony Rodriguez, my son, and a few others, we wrote a song. My brother Matt Brown put the voice behind it, and it was our way of saying, hey, listen, you know what? You're not alone. Try and look at yourself the way that we see you. Don't look at yourself through the lens of the grief and the pain. So magic many times is a healing thing. Shia uses it in Reiki. These analogies, these examples, they all have a common element that it's all based on different forms of energy. And music is a form of energy. Sound travels in particular ways depending upon its frequency. So, certain things, they sound soothing and good, and you can sit back and just go with the flow. And then other things shake you by the head and just, and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? But other things make us laugh, they make us cry. Some of it is obviously based on individuals. I'm kind of learning these new dynamics because I come from an old school analogy of playing in bands where, there wasn't a lot of pomp and circumstance. It wasn't a lot of visuals. I was joking with Pete Pallas from Annika about that. We're just, we plug in and we play, we make fucking music. That's what we did. Now, the world we live in is much more visual between, social media, YouTube, all those groovy things. So everybody wants a different things. Now, granted, one thing, you're never going to see the Old Wolf OnlyFans track. Okay. I'm not going to spread my ass cheeks to sell my music, but hey, if that's your thing, more power to you. You know what I mean? And some people want that. Not all of us. You know what I mean? I was joking around over the weekend, about some of those analogies, and listen, everybody's entitled to make a buck and, find their way. But I submit that if you're trying to sell bullshit, you know what? It's just a matter of time before the bullshit comes back to you. So those of us who try to be real, to be honest, sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it's a bit shaky. But it's always better to have the truth. Anything else is just, again, illusions. And you can't work from an illusion. You can't change things. And especially you can't change yourself if you're dealing from a place where everything's fucking imaginary. Now, many times that's not our fault. People will bullshit us. They'll gaslight us. They'll use magic. And one of those forms I refer to as weaponized empathy. They'll be like, hey, don't pay attention to the words. Look at my ass. See? That's what you really want to see. Or they'll use some other analogy to be like, hey, you got to dress this way so you can feel more important. Or, hey, you don't like the way your life is? Hey, take this pill. Your doctor will prescribe it to you. It's all fucking bullshit. It's smoke and mirrors. It is the purest form of illusion magic. And it happens in many different shapes and forms. But music, for the most part, cuts through that. When you listen to a song, it speaks to you. It doesn't matter what the writer really intended. You look at a song like the Rolling Stones' Sympathy for the Devil, and, people are going to have their own analogies and takes about what it actually means to them. And I can guarantee you, none of that had anything to do with anything those guys had in their head when they wrote the fucking song. Maybe you might take a couple of things. Maybe he's like, not the big bad wolf. Oh yeah, the big bad wolf for fucking sure. I don't bother with the whole huffing and puffing, blow your house kind of fucking thing. I just, I'm going to sit back in the woods and you're going to throw fucking dynamite at the house. And I'm going to sit back and watch the carnage unfold. See, even wolves evolve. Once you get hit with enough Acme anvils and you run into enough fucking brick walls like the coyote, and coyotes are a little bit further down the road, but, we share a common thing. You know what I mean? We always kind of get painted to be, the bad guys. And let me tell you something. We're not. There are far greater fucking evils floating out there disguised as any number of analogies. And I'm not going to waste the time going into them because I want to stay positive. I'm trying really hard. So I'm going to get back to some more music because I want to promote these guys. I mentioned them earlier. My brother Pete Palace from Brooklyn, his band Annika, has been doing this for fucking many years. I had him do an interview on the radio show, and it was a fucking blast. I really respect. You know, I've been listening to these guys for years, and we share some common circles within the music scene. But when you really sit down and you have that deep conversation with somebody, it really changes your perspective. And it was really refreshing, and it was one of those positive experiences that I'm really glad. I see my sister, Jem, just floated in, and my mother, Estelle, making sure that I don't do or say something bad. I'm trying, Mom. I'm trying to be a good wolf. I'm trying. I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook. But anyway, I'm going to cut into some Annika. And they're going to be performing again October 28, 29, Saratoga Springs. By the way, this whole show, the Rockin' Oddities Con, that girl in the chat, Gemlyn Rhodes, she's the one putting this all together. And let me tell you, sister's got some fucking magic and some energy to go to the levels to make this happen. And let me tell you something, she ain't going to get rich off of this. Okay, the only reason people do the things like what she's doing is because they actually give a shit about the people, the vendors, okay, the bands. So that's a testament to her character. I love you, Jem. You're doing a fucking great job. If you want to learn more, go to rockodditiescon.com. You can find it on Facebook, social media, where you can track Jem down and be like, hey, this crazy old fucking wolf was talking about this insane weekend Halloween party that's going on in Saratoga Springs. Yeah, it's going to be like that. Really. And I think I'm underselling it because I've been talking to a bunch of the people that are involved, and the amount of energy, the amount of excitement, the amount of magic that is coming together in one place, it's going to be fucking magical. Fucking redundant, right? So yeah, sit back, enjoy a little bit of Annika, and then we'll be back.
From down the city line rolling, pitch black become our number game.
Yeah, a knockout, the Glorified Crusade. And again, they will be performing October 28th, that weekend, for the Rockin' Oddities Con. I also want to shout out Dallas from Blackbird Tattoo. He's one of the sponsors for the con, and he's fabricating the Haunted Maze. And we're working on trying to get as many of the folks involved, either on the podcast or the show. Check him out again, social media, Facebook, rockodditiescon.com. And again, I want to shout out the Vampire Witch. She's going to be there. Shy is going to be there. There's a whole bunch of people who are going to be there. And I'm going to kind of pull up a couple of the other ones here. A little bit of that impromptu, hey, because I can. It's my show. I do what I want. You know what I mean? So, what else we got here? Yes, well, all right. So we have the Vampire Witch. We have, Sweetheart Harley, who does some really cool special effect makeup and costume spot for those of you doing that cosplay thing, Halloween celebration type of thing. She's really cool. You've got a couple other interesting things. Let's see here. What else we got? Ah, yes. The X-Files Preservation Collection and Collectibles. They're going to be there. We've also got Sandra D. Tomasis and Ivan Pavlich of Offbeat Rarities. They're going to be there. God, there's so many of them. I'm just going to completely fuck this up because there's just too many to keep track of. Psychomantium, another band I'm going to play in a few minutes. They're going to be there. Let's see what else we can pull up. Alloy Rain. Okay. Ghoul at Heart. All kinds of stuff. Jim, you're going to have to just send me a whole list. Just give me a fucking list of everyone and everything, and I'll just go through it. The tradition says October 28th. Yes. I know I'm missing people. I don't have a complete list. I'm still trying to contact people and organize all that stuff, but it's going to be a blast. And you can find out about everything going on by simply going and following Rock and Oddities Con, either through, again, Facebook or through the website, rockodditiescon.com. And I'll throw that up again, just so that way folks at home can actually see it. And that new flyer, by the way, was done by Shia. There's a whole bunch of people involved. You can see the WRFC logo, Old Wolf Music. Frank Palangi, who I'm going to play one of his tracks. He's one of the sponsors. You got Brick by Brick, Old North End. The Tradition, yes. Tradition, you need to reach out to me. I need your music so I can put it on here. So we have frame of reference. This is how we do it. But welcome. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, this is going to be a fucking absolutely cool fucking weekend. And for more information, visit rockodditiescon.com. Now, one of the things that I promised to do, and we're going to be out there. I'm not going to be performing, but I am a musician and I write music and going to continue to release music. And maybe next year, you might even get my ass up there to perform, something Jim and I got to talk about. But one of the tracks that I did last year with that guy on the left looking all blinged out, Jonathan Porter, really was a powerful track. And he and I are working on a new track that's going to be a little bit more bluesier, a little bit more Reiki, a little bit more ritual oriented, because he and I both believe in the magic of music. And different forms of music have obviously different energy. They can be healing, they can be uplifting, they can make you shit your pants if they hit the brown note. Well, this is not one of those tracks. But for my brother, Jonathan Porter, out there, this is really, again, Old Wolf music, pocket full of wolves. Jonathan Porter, my brother Matt Brown on vocals, myself on guitar, Jeff Thal on drums, and my son, the Indigo Monkey, on bass. So kick back, enjoy a little bit of Time of the Phoenix, and then we'll be right back.
If I could turn back time, then I wouldn't change any life. Wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by. Time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. The book of white and stone. I never regretted all of the things that I've done. Though the waters that flow through the earth go by, years go by, life goes by. You've got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies go by, life goes by, the times are right to die. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, the times are right to die. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, the times are right to die.
Again, that was Time of the Phoenix, done by myself, my brother Jonathan Porter, Matt Brown, my son, and Jeff Thal on drums. It was one of those tracks, again, that kind of evolved through a couple of different processes, and it's a deeply personal dynamic. It reflects, obviously, the analogy of the phoenix being reborn from the ashes, but it's also reflective of the dynamic that we can't change the past. Sometimes we have to let the old versions of ourselves fucking die. It really just is that simple. It's not per se fun or easy, but many times it is the only real truth in wanting to move past things, regardless if it's our fault or not. So the track became kind of this, double-edged sword where it talks about the elements of being reborn, but it also talks about the aspects of not changing the things. It's the George Bailey analogy from It's a Wonderful Life. Despite everything that we may be going through, depending on how horrible it may be, our presence, our part in the story affects so much else, and we can't really always see that. And more importantly, when you remove those dynamics, it can and will change everything. And many times it changes it for the worse. So that perspective, that context really has to come sometimes from other people. And that was the driving force of that track. And I'm looking forward to releasing another track that he and I are working on a few different tracks from a couple different angles. I'm working with my brother, Greg Carr-Schumann, on a track. Matt Brown and I are finishing up a track that I've kind of played the rough version for, Eight of Swords. I got a track that's floating out there with Josh and Raven from Bonded by Darkness. I'm working with my brother, Brian Judah. One of the things that I have become and that I really love is doing collaborative music. As a guitar player, as a songwriter, as a producer, I can do a lot of this stuff myself, but I love the magic of mixing it up. It's like cooking. It's an old Italian dynamic. You got to throw a bunch of different spices into the mix. And by the way, this magic was given to me by my mother. And I just wanted to let her know that I saw the comment and I was just kind of segueing to it. It's incredibly beautiful. And I love the fact that you come out here to interact, and you will always be a part of our life, despite, you living a little bit south of us, but you will always be in our heart and souls. And I say that without any joking. If it wasn't for the influences of my mother, this world wouldn't exist, because I would have gone off and I would have become an arch fucking villain. She was the one who taught me that love is the best defense, is the best tool. Even when I want to rip people's fucking throats out, she was the one that taught me that you can't judge people based on the elements of the color of their skin or their sexuality or any of these other stupid bullshit illusions that exist around us, because that's exactly what they are. They're fucking illusions. Now, granted, I was reading Carlos Castaneda probably well before I was ready for it, but in retrospect, I wouldn't change any line in it. So I thank you, my mother, in that. By the way, is Estelle Zhu back there? Yes, she is the old wolf's mother. She is the OG hippie / freak. And I know she doesn't like that word hippie. So it's, technically for the people of her time, they were freaks, not hippies. Always got to make sure to correct myself on that. But she was active in the civil rights movement. She was a parent. She was somebody who strongly believed not only in magic, but in music and in hope. Yes, freak, as my mother corrects me. But a lot of what I carry and use now was born of that. Now, granted, as a young child, I know I fucked up a couple of those classic albums. But guess what? My son did the same fucking thing to me. So you know what? This is the generational curse thing. This is that meme where, your parent says to you, well, wait till you have a kid and, you'll get a taste of it. Yeah. But I still love him. And this is part of the magic of music. We can pass it down. We can share it. We can build the foundations of so much with it. And again, it's always important to remember the people that are along with you. Yeah, more than my mother's like, she's going to remind me. Here comes all the dirty laundry. Yeah, I'm sure I fucked up a whole bunch of things. We don't even want to get into some of the shit I did as a young person, because I was definitely, you think I'm bad now? Ooh, you should have seen me back then. I was a monster. But I learned, I adapted, I changed. And you can too. So in getting back to the Rockin' Oddities Con, yeah, Shia is like, oh yeah, we do. We want all the embarrassing stories. It's not happening. Not happening. Not tonight. We can have her on again one night, and she wants to tell all those stories. She's welcome to, but I'm not going to put words in her mouth, because I'll probably get it fucking wrong. Yeah, traveling 100 miles an hour, doing stupid shit, motorcycles, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I wonder where I learned all that from. Wink, wink. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. And now for something completely different. I'm going to jump to a track from one of the guys who's supporting the Rock and Oddities Con. Yeah, listen, this is what happens when you do live broadcasting. But at least I don't have to worry about my language. Let me tell you, sometimes it's difficult with the WRFZ show because my inner George Carlin just wants to fucking scream. And I can't because it's FM radio. So I can't get away with that stuff. And Tony and I were doing the interview and we're like, wow, we really got to be fucking careful. Because he and I will fuck it up. Because we fuck with each other and we'll just push the buttons. And I'm so grateful that we didn't completely fucking derail that or end up, having the FCC crawl up our ass. All right, so this is a track from Frank Palangi. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this right, but if I've got it wrong, hey, Frank, let me know and I'll get it fucking right. He's another one of the sponsors. And again, jump to some music and then we'll jump right back.
Shaking, slowly taking, holding tight. You're out of control, no room to hold you in. The ground is shaking, the earth is awakening. It feels like I've been buried alive. Bring it on, baby. Light the fire of love. The picture perfect mistake. You felt it like an earthquake. Can you take the heart attack? Take the stab and circle back. The ground is shaking, the earth is awakening. It feels like I've been buried alive. Bring it on, baby. Light the fire of love. Speak the words you say. Take hold my hand, I pray. This is no parade. Again. Reach the surface, love together. The ground is shaking, the earth is awakening. It feels like I've been buried alive. Bring it on, baby. Light the fire of
Yeah, a little bit of the Frank Palangi. I believe, again, I'm pronouncing it right, but, I won't know until somebody tells me otherwise. Hey, Frank, if you're listening, Christine says she needs a man like this. Ha ha. I'd rock him. I can't speak to Frank, but I can tell you that guy on the left with the bling and the wolf shirt, yes, Shia will gladly pimp him out to you, should you like. Okay, He is available. We have him on the market, and we'll ship him to you if that's what's needed. Reach out to Shia to find out more about that. Jonathan, if you're listening, I told you I'd get you. That's what I do. Love you, brother. The guy on the other side with his tongue out, trust me, you don't want, because you'd have to fight his witch to get to him. He's a pasty motherfucker anyway, but we love him too. And me, you'd have to fight Shia for, which, trust me, you don't want to do, because she's got some fucking crazy ass magic. As my mother says, my mother knows Chris Miller's known him for years. Miller the Photobomb. Or as my son likes to refer to him, Captain Cockblock. But hey, that's a story for another podcast. Yes, I said it. I went there. Sometimes truth is truth. But we say it jokingly. Tony and I were joking the other night on the radio show. We were talking about our brother, Chris Seringer, who is officially fat ass, just like I have the old wolf. That's my persona. Chris is fat ass. Not that Chris, a different Chris. And we got all kinds of interesting little love labels for each other. And we joke around, but we've known each other for a long time. So, you know, we have it like that. We've been through good times, bad times, and everything in between. We've lost a lot of people along the way. But we're going to keep doing what we're doing because we believe in the magic of music. So I'm going to cut right back into some more from the Rock Oddities Con. This is a band called Psychomancium. I played them last week, one of their tracks, and I'm going to play another one of their tracks called Strange Voltage, and then we'll be back.
From the dungeon, hear the healer's cry.
Yeah, a little Psychomantium. Again, going to be performing October 28th, 29th at the Saratoga Springs Center as part of the Rockin' Oddities Con 2023. This is why I don't sing anymore, by the way. My brain moves faster than my vocal cords can respond. Too many years of smoking. So, yeah, sometimes you'll get me out. I'll do a lot more in the way of harmonies and backups, but I'm a guitar player at heart. That's what I do. But that first track that I opened the show with was me singing, by the way, because I've had a few people be like, hey, didn't you sing? I was like, yeah, I've done it before. There's a couple tracks out there that, has me singing, but I got people that are much better fucking singers than I am. Guys like Matt Brown and Greg Carr Schumann and Raven and Shia and a whole lot of others that can do it a whole lot better than I fucking can. So, be true to thyself. Sometimes, we just have to, accept this is what we do. Now, one of the other things, okay, that's going on, and this is going to be for you folks at home who are actually watching, it's going to get weird for a minute here, because I'm going to drag something into this fucking program, and I've never tried to do it this way. But here we go. And this is me literally resizing an image on the fly. So no, your computers and phones and whatever you're watching on, they're not going fucking crazy. This is me. There we go. That show I was talking about, October 7th, yeah, that's a WRC rock show. October. All right, so we rewound that. October 7th at the House of Guitars in Rochester, New York. Going to be a whole bunch of cool bands. Gary Myra and his band Skyway, Ayla Huff, okay, Hollowell, Days End, the Mick and Mac Show, and the WRC House Band, which happens to be myself, my son, Greg Carr Schumann, Ed Contini, Steve Litzbach, Mark Tunlin on drums, Brian Judah on bass, and Brian Maslin on some vocals and keyboards. Most of these people are involved in the radio station. Brian Maslin is the president of the WRFC board. Brian Judah is our station manager. Ed Contini does a show just like I do a show. Steve Litzbach, he does a show. Greg Carr Schumann is an old friend of mine, known him many, many years. He and I performed together on again, off again, whole bunch of different Arcade Nations through the years. And he's a brother, you know what I mean? And then obviously I got my son, which is one of the reasons I got back into music. I want to shout out my sister, Monica Munastira Smith. She's part of the original Inner Demon crew over there. Really, really powerful. And I'm going to call you a witch, sister, because it's a good a label as I can really throw on it. She dances in a lot of the pagan circles. She's active in supporting, not only different types of music, but different approaches to how we perceive things like magic, like life, and like music. And just like everybody else, she's seen her fair share of fucking shit along the way. But she's still here. She's still fighting it despite all the bullshit that's been thrown her way. You know what? That defines a person's character. Anybody can go out on the fucking Facebook and throw some memes up there and be like, hi, don't you think I'm cool? It's bullshit, okay? When you see people who actually get out and are actually doing things, going out and supporting people, even if it's not in their best interest, that's the real fucking difference, okay? Because guess what? You can fucking teach a parrot to push the button and pop that meme. Yes. Isn't that parrot cool? And then you got others like my sister Jessica there. So despite everything she's been through, she's still fighting the fight. She's a parent. She's a witch. She's a sister. She's a woman. And she's somebody that I greatly respect. And I am honored to call her a friend. And we try and do the things that we can for each other. And it's not always perfect. One of the things that I'm having to learn is I just don't simply have enough time for everybody and everything. As much as I want to, it would literally require Shia to put me in a fucking meat grinder, grind me up, and then section me into 10 million little bite-sized pieces, which I'm going to honestly say is not my fucking thing. Okay? Now, if you're into that, and I'm not condoning it or suggesting it, this is purely fucking comedy, but all joking aside, sometimes we have to draw boundaries. And I know Monica knows that. I know Jessica understands that. I know Christine. I know my mother. I know pretty much everybody that I associate with understands that, because they've been forced into those situations through no fault of their own, where they have to deal with other people's bullshit or other people's baggage or other people's misery and pain and sorrow and desperation. Okay. And we can do what we can. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try, but sometimes we can't. And it's hard. It's hard to say, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't give you any more. And then people don't always like that. They take it personal. They feel however they feel. And then they choose to walk away. And, you know, as much as it hurts, and I've had people who walked away because I laid a boundary down, because I was honest, and I just said, listen, I can't give you any more. I can't go beyond what I don't have to give. And as my mother Estelle says, no picking on parrots. Freudian slip? Maybe. One saved her ass. And yes, true story. The house burnt down, and if it wasn't for my mother's parrot, everybody in the house would have probably fucking died. And the parrot gave his life. And it was through no fault of her own or anything. It was just some shitty fucking company in some shitty third world country that had no fucking quality control. And it was something that just decided, hey, let's burn the house down. But everybody survived. So, well, not everybody survived. Is that horrible? Like, yeah, I'm going to make a comedy sketch out of a dead fucking parrot. Monty Python for the win. But on the flip side, as my mother says, some boundaries rip your heart out. It is sometimes the most difficult thing to do, is to establish those boundaries. And, you know, music will many times reflect those moments. We'll associate certain songs with certain things. And then, you know, for those of us who write and perform and use music in a different way, especially in creating, they'll reflect moments, they'll reflect stories, they'll reflect people in our journeys. And some of them are beautiful and loving, and some of them are fucking dark and ugly. And this is the reality of what we live in. My sister Jessica says, hell to the yes, won't give up. Always got to show as much compassion as we can for each other. I love you too, and I respect you. Looking forward to getting together with you, Jess. Jess is part of our inner circle. Like, there's a circle, and then there's another circle, and then there's another circle, and circles upon circles. You know, my mother's in that inner circle, like many of you are. And it's not that we don't want everybody in there, but it's not always feasible, possible. You know, we have listeners and people that we're friends with that live in all parts of the world. And I mean literally all parts of the fucking world. Ireland, Germany, South America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. The list goes fucking on. And as much as we would love to, and we try, you know, we jumped the border to Canada a couple of months ago, and we went, I saw our sister, Ashley Hart, and spent some time with her, and it was beautiful and it was great. And she's somebody that we love and support. Do we wish we could spend more time? Of course, but we can't. So we do what we can. Now you'll see on the screen with the WIRC Rock Show. This again is also a free show, but we are doing a GoFundMe to raise money for the radio station. Here's the simple truth. WRFC, Rochester Free Radio, is one of the only non-for-profit radio stations out there. Pretty much every other radio station has been bought up by corporate interests, and the corporate model is simply about money and dollars. Is money needed to keep the fucking ship flowing? Yeah, obviously. But the other side of the coin is that radio, especially FM radio, used to reflect not only what was happening musically, but what was happening within the communities. And that's what we're trying to do with Rochester Free Radio. So it's a free show for everybody to come out and enjoy and hang out. There'll be some vendors. Our good friend Danny, she's an eclectic artist and also an author. She wrote A is for Autism. So you'll notice a bit of a theme with everything we do. We're always trying to do things in regards to autism awareness, autism support, children's issues, veterans issues, but also the music. I mentioned earlier, Diane and Nativia, who are part of our inner circle. Mama Diane has kind of become the Rochester matriarch for everything that's going on up here. And most of the stuff that's been going on has been going at her and her husband Ed's place. Ed also performs with us. He has a show on WRFZ Thursdays 3 to 5, where he kind of, does some talking, some music. We call it the Contini Context. The show is actually Over the Edge. Ed is an old school Jersey guy. He's got a great fucking humor. As my mother said, yes, the old WNEW FM back in the olden days when my mother would get pissed off because I would stay up all night listening to those fucking shows because I fell in love with it. My Uncle Ralph was a DJ. So, I caught the bug somewhere. And again, I guess I got to blame my mother because she's the one who put the magic of music in me. So, yeah, I get to be like, haha, this is, not my fault. I'm kind of going with, whatever. I'm genetically disposed to music. Roscoe's raps. Yeah. But listen, again, if you go on social media, if you go to the WRFC radio on Facebook, if you go on my page or Shia page, everything like that, you're going to see this. And there's a little, one of those little code things that you can scan, and there's an active GoFundMe. And we're asking anybody and everybody that could help out. I don't care if it's fucking $2 or $2,000, whatever you can do. This is what's going to allow us to keep doing shows, to keep doing autism awareness, keep supporting the local community elements here. And we do this in a couple different places, and we're trying to build and expand upon that. So if you can help out, that would be great. Anybody who knows me and follows me, I very rarely come out here talking anything about money, but because we are a nonprofit radio station, this is how we have to do it to keep doing the things we do. And to give you an analogy, and you're like, well, what do you want to do with that money? Well, we want to keep doing free shows for people, first and foremost. But we'd like to have a bigger broadcast range. Let me tell you, those fucking transmitters are not cheap. The very fact that we managed to pull off to get an actual FM broadcast license, let me tell you, was no fucking easy task. This shit is hoarded, all right? Let me tell you, the corporate guys, they're like fucking hungry dragons. They just fucking hoard everything. So most of the bands that you'll hear me play, you'll hear Brian Judah play, you'll hear Ed play and others and stuff like that, you'll never fucking hear them if it wasn't for the fact that we play what we want. Nobody's paying us per se to, hey, play my song. No, we're playing bands that are not only active in the in the community and helping and support, but they actually deserve it. The Beatles didn't start out famous. They were playing in shitty underground clubs in Germany for beers, basically, until they made it big. And any one of these bands could theoretically become the next Beatles. But guess what? It doesn't matter if they don't, because they enjoy what they do. They do it because they want to. They have stories to tell. They have shit to share. They believe in it. They love it. And all of these people who are performing, they're doing it, okay, free of their time, volunteering to support it. I know my sister Jessica had a suggestion for something, and I would absolutely love to do that. And you should definitely hook up with me after the show, and we can talk about that. I'm all about anything that will make a difference in real people's lives. So that's a great idea. And this is how it happens. Literally, everybody here just saw how it happens. All it really takes is for people to interact, just like this. I have a lot of different people who come on the show. Not all of them are musicians or famous people per se. A lot of them are just regular people like my sister, Oracle's Osiris. You know what I mean? She's an incredible storyteller, but she's also a single parent. She's just another person in the world, but her story is worth telling. Okay. It's the same with my sister, Jessica. It's the same with Monica. It's the same with Diana. It's the same with a lot of people that I've had on the show, because I believe everybody's story is worth telling. Everybody has some degree of magic, even if it's shitty dark magic. There's something to be learned from that. And that is part of the magic of music, because music reflects our lives. Music is not just this one-dimensional thing that falls out of a tree and just like, oh, here I am. No, it's born out of everything that goes on, what we experience, what we taste, what we feel, what we smell, what we know, what we don't know, our dreams, our nightmares, and everything in between. So I'm going to play now a quick 2-pack of some of the bands that will be performing October 7th at the House of Guitars here in Rochester, New York, for that WRFC rock show. And they're a little bit different. Not everything I do is metal. Okay, I have a deep connection with old folk music, with blues, with a lot of different stuff. And the set that we're doing with the House of Guitars, a lot of it is going to be kind of old rock and roll, is kind of a memorial testament to some of the iconic figures that we've lost. David Crosby, Randy Meisner, and a lot of others along the way. And we're going to play songs from bands like Blind Faith, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, the James Gang. We're going deep into some old fucking shit. And let me tell you, you know, fucking around with this stuff with these guys, Mark Tunlin, Ed, Brian, my son, it's been a blast. You know what I mean? We're joking around about it, but it really is true. We're kind of going back to when we were kids and first starting out, literally playing in a fucking garage. We're playing in Ed's garage. And it's fucking magical, man. Shai was there. And, you know, we had people coming from down the street. You know, we put on a fucking rock show. And we're going to keep doing it. And we're going to be doing the show October 7th. But two of the band's performers that are going to be playing, one I mentioned earlier, Hollowell, and the other, Ayla Huff. Now, Ayla Huff is a singer-songwriter. She's never actually performed with anybody outside of herself. So when she was playing with us Sunday, she was blown away, having a drum set and, you know, a lead guitar player and a bass player and all this extra stuff to fill out her music. And she's like, wow, can we do more? Yeah, we're going to do more. So a little bit of a couple of different approaches, because, hey, it doesn't have to be one kind of music. There's lots of different music to share. And as Jess says, music comes from within. So we're going to start off with a little bit of the Ayla Huff, okay? And then we're going to cut to a little bit of Hollowell, and then we'll be back.
Everything I thought I had was just 15 miles from where I'd been. Every heart grew, you never left. In my mind and in my dreams, with no regret, just doesn't mean. Cause every breath I took, missed your air in every way, and every smile I put, missed the naturalness you make. Yes, you. Yeah, you.
So yeah, that was a little bit of Ayla Huff, me, myself, and I. And listen, you can't make this shit up. I know I was going to do a double pack, but I decided to cut in because guess what? Because it's my fucking show and I can do that. And I'm not limited by time. Unfortunately, on my radio show, I have a 2-hour limit. I'm working on that to expand that show to make it longer. But my podcast, and I've been known to, I'll run the podcast for hours sometimes, depending upon how the interaction's going with people, because I believe in that. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be this static thing. So you can't make this shit up. I'm literally talking about Ayla. I'm talking about Sunday and us getting together. I'm talking about her performing October 7th at the show. And she literally shows up at that fucking moment. Now listen, pure 100% honesty here. She and I didn't fucking coordinate this. This wasn't preset. But sometimes magic, AK energy, not unlike a Wi-Fi signal, it's just out there, and we can't always understand it, but it compels us to be a particular place at a particular time to say a particular thing to a particular person. So as I'm talking, and I jokingly put in the chat, speak of the devil and she appears. That's joking. Ayla is anything but the fucking devil. All right. She's incredibly cool, beautiful person. Okay. She's a mother. Let me tell you, her and her daughter hanging out Sunday. And with your permission, Ayla, I would like to post one of the pics. It's an incredible moment. We're doing this, and literally, we didn't have a fucking mic stand. We had a mic just in case, but we didn't really know what anybody was going to sing, and we were just going to kind of do the music thing. And Ayla comes over, and she's got her guitar and stuff like that. So her daughter's literally holding the mic as Ayla's playing acoustic guitar. Mark, Brian, and I are following her and stuff like that, and Ayla's singing and doing her thing. And again, this is the magical kind of stuff that you can't script it. You can't orchestrate it. It happens organically. It is pure. It's beautiful. And having those little moments, and again, thank you for being a part of this group and hanging out. We're an eclectic motley crew. No pun intended. We're not dirty fucking assholes like that other motley crew. And yeah, I said it, because I got a bug in my ass about that, and I've talked about that before, but I'm not going to waste time about that. And yes, Ayla is a very gifted singer-songwriter, and she's one of the people that I'm also working with and supporting and will continue to work with and support. I got to tell you, it was really fun taking one of her songs and then kind of expanding it into a full band scenario. So don't be surprised if you hear some new stuff come out of that end of the magic pool, because the magic pool is fucking huge. And we believe in the concept, strength in numbers. If we don't take care of each other, who the fuck is going to do it? So we're going to keep doing these things. We're going to keep pushing it. We're going to keep making magic and music to the best of our ability. And I want to say to Christine, and I think I'm getting your last name right, but I don't know. I'm going to say Lemke, because my brother Ed Contini, the Polish in him, is saying, you got to say it Lemke, man. That's what it is. So I'm going to guess that it's Lemke. If I'm wrong, and I apologize, you can fucking correct me, and I will gladly accept it. I am really honored. Your first time hanging out with us, and I am really glad that you're happy here. That's what we try and do. We try and create an open, inclusive environment. We want people to hang out, to enjoy, to interact. It's not just a show. It's really just an extension of what we do. Okay, you'll find us out in the real world. We're not just fucking Facebook memes that show up and be like, hey, let me tell you this really cool fancy thing, but it doesn't actually have any application in my life because I'm not real. We're all fucking real people. We're horrifyingly real. Okay, anybody who's met me knows I'm fucked up. Okay, I pretty much had all of my teeth knocked out because my younger years I would fight and just stupid shit, my jaw, my nose being broken multiple times. So because of the stupid shit that I did when I was younger, guess what? I got to pay the price as an old wolf. But you know what? Here's the other side of the coin. I don't give a fuck. Okay? My philosophy is this. If you're going to judge me by the way I look, if it isn't my teeth, it's going to be my tattoos, or it's going to be my long hair, or it's going to be my George Carlin attitude, or it's going to be any number of fucking analogies. And guess what? I can't control what other people think. So I'm just going to try and be as real as I possibly can. I'm going to say, listen, this is who I am. Okay? I'm not just defined by this fucking shell. Okay? I have other things that I bring to the table. And the people that do know me and are part of my life know that I will do fucking anything. Literally anything for the people in my world. I will support you. I will do my best to love you. Not in that creepy kind of gonna send you a dick pic kind of way. But in more of a, of a brotherly, loving, supporter. Listen, I've had people be like, I wish my father was like you. Well, you know what? I'm a father. I was a single parent for fucking 20 plus years. And I was gifted with a lot of good tools by my mother, even though I didn't realize it at the time. But they really did fucking save me down the road. I've also, and I've talked about this openly and honestly, when I was younger, I struggled with what a lot would refer to as addiction. My father was an alcoholic. He comes from a long line of fucking alcoholics. The time period that I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s, was filled with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So, again, my stupid little ass was like, hey, this is cool. And then once I learned how to play guitar and then I realized that I could leverage that, yeah, all bets were fucking off. But people showed me that I didn't have to let that define me. And a lot of it was driven, and Shai was talking about this earlier on her live, we're all addicts to some degree or another. We like what we like, okay? The things that make us feel good, we want more of. The difference is when it becomes bad, when it becomes toxic, when it becomes dangerous, harmful, any number of those shitty words that you want to put on it. So that's the difference. And we all cross those different boundaries in different ways. Some people, it's alcohol. Some people, it's drugs. Some people, it's gambling. Some people, it's sex. Some people, it's food. Some people, it's retail therapy. Some people, it is just pure narcissism. Negative attention is better than no attention. Literally thousands of variables, but it is a human condition. Okay? And these elements, they reflect. Art imitates life. Life imitates art. Music, magic, energy. These are all just different words explaining our perspective on these different things. My condolences, Christine. My father also passed about 3 years ago from not drugs and rock and roll. I wish I could like be like, hey, my dad was cool. Yeah, my dad was a fucking asshole. He was an abusive drunk. He was a fucking coward. And he basically died alone in a pile of his own shit because he chose to burn every bridge in his life. And just, for him, the world was never right. Now, I say that because that's my perspective. Okay. I say it because it's my way of dealing with many of the tragedies and traumas that unfortunately he inflicted upon myself, my mother, my brothers and sisters, and pretty much everybody around him. And I'm not going to fucking dive into all the old horror stories, but suffices to say, okay, And I'll just give you a little context of analogy. Now, this is going to be triggering and this is going to be disturbing. But to give you a context to understand it from my perspective, okay? I talk about the fact that I was a single parent for many years. And part of that dynamic before my son's mother died was that she would take off, sometimes for large clips. And she started doing it when my son was very young. She also was a drug addict and an alcoholic, okay, and could not find a way to balance that with any aspect of her life. She didn't want to be a mother. She didn't want to be a wife. There were points that she did try, but ultimately, and just to, again, the rotten cherry on the top to kind of give you that perspective, in one of her I'm going to hurt you moments, she and my father fucked each other. So for most people, when the context is, well, you know, you're married to somebody and then they fuck your father and then they make it a point to let you know about that, to stick it in your face, it's usually not indicative of a good person. What I realized and what my mother explained to me during some of this process, that unfortunately in a lot of ways I translated my relationship model basically with the model of my father. I had a pattern of involving myself with very toxic, abusive women, and it was very superficial. They were beautiful on the outside, but they were fucking nightmares on the inside. And that was my pattern until I met Shia. So, in many ways, I'm the victim of my own fucking stupidity. And also, too, all joking aside, actions have consequences. We have to own them. Okay? So, I made it a point, to the best of my ability, to own them. I raised my son. He doesn't have any of those aspects, and I have a beautiful relationship with him. So using the time of the Phoenix analogy, I wouldn't change any of these dynamics because it's what brought me to where I am. So even though I had to go through this shit, I look at my son and I'm like, you know, it was worth it. Okay. I look at what I have now and I'm like, you know what? I'm grateful. Okay. And I appreciate it for what it is. Mom, you actually heard that one, but you probably kind of buried that with the many layers of all the other horrible things that he did. And listen, you know, that's the only way sometimes you can approach this shit, because some of it is just so fucked up. You have to put humor into it. You have to spin it into something besides the shit that it is. It is, unfortunately, the lesser of the two evils. You can't let it, you know, grow on you. You can't fucking roll in it and drown in it. And these are things that, let's be blunt, we can't control. So we take them for what they are. We learn and we move on. So, you know, again, see, now I feel bad. Now my mother's like, I got to unhear that one. Listen, I'm sure in the scheme of things, and I know you've got a whole fucking book of horrible shit that probably pales in comparison to a lot of the stuff. You know, listen, this was a guy who went online pretending to be a woman, okay, to fuck with his brother, my Uncle Ralph, before he died. True story, okay? I don't give a shit about the analogy. Don't speak ill of the dead. Fuck that. They're dead. If they were fucking scumbags and assholes, guess what? They deserve to be called out. This is a guy that didn't want to even be remembered. He didn't want, you know, he was just like, let my children know that I don't want anything. Don't put them in moral. Literally, that was what he left his children, was like, you know, forget I ever existed. Well, kind of hard to do, me personally, rather than walk around with a deeper trauma, but I'll turn it into a fucking comedy skit. You know what I mean? And, you know, this is a guy that would get drunk and go cruising in his BMW with an axe looking to cut up my mother. Again, true story. My mother had to take him to fucking court, had to literally drag the law in to be able to shut him down. Okay. This is a guy, okay, too, you want to continue on the shit show? This was a guy that found a fucking 18-year-old drug addict, okay, when he was in his 50s, took advantage of her, got her pregnant, had a child, and it only took a year or two for this poor girl to realize, oh my God, this guy is an absolute monster, and took the kid and ran away. Okay? These are not the behaviors of good people, and it's not how men are supposed to be. I make a joke, and maybe this gives a little bit extra background to the joke, but it is really a true dynamic. I use these experiences as the blueprint for everything not to do as a father and a parent. So in many ways, he did me a great service. He showed me everything not to fucking do. The only thing that I couldn't handle, because I didn't understand it and I didn't have any processing tools really, I couldn't handle, okay, the rage, the anger, the violence that I had inside of me. So I became like this crazy fucking Batman type of character, you know, always looking to fight injustice. And, you know, trust me, when, you know, you get a couple of shots in you and, you know what I mean, if you know how to fight especially, and once I learned how to fight, I became that guy. And as my mother said, yes, to add another layer of shitty icing, the girl that he took advantage of was the sister of his other son girlfriend. So this was a pattern. My father liked to fuck the women of his male sons. Okay? Yeah, you can't make this shit up. Wow, talk about a fucked up segue. So yeah, that conversation is over. Yeah, dominance thing, a whole bunch of fucking weird shit. But listen, we are real people. I'm not afraid to speak of it because I believe this is one of the only tools that we have to learn and heal and grow from. If we don't share the dynamics of what happens to us, what we are, what we want to be, then nothing fucking changes. Okay? It doesn't. So we have to have these conversations. We have to teach our children better. Okay? We have to lead by example. These aren't just fucking, you know, memes. These are actual philosophies that make a difference. Children are not born racist. Okay? They're not born this way. This is all learned behavior. Okay? Simple analogy. If you take a dry sponge and you put it in a bucket of piss, guess what? The sponge is going to smell like piss. It is simple cause and effect. It's not rocket science. And as my mother says, yes, thank you. The only way to heal is to shine the light on it. And my mother and I have had a lot of conversations, all of us within the family dynamic, my brothers, my sisters and stuff. We've had these conversations over the years because my mother made it a point to create an atmosphere of honesty and communication. Was it pretty? Not always. Was it uncomfortable? Definitely sometimes. Was it better? Absolutely. And did it work? No fucking doubt. Living proof. I look at my brother Will and his children. I look at my sister Felicia and her children. And I look at the context with myself and my son. And those generational elements, they're changed. Okay? This next generation within our family doesn't have anywhere near the kind of baggage. Okay? It's better. It's healthier. There's now joy and hope and laughter and all these beautiful things. Okay? And again, time, unfortunately, you know what I mean? I've talked about this before, and I'll kind of close this element up with, I was also blessed with somebody that my mother met, and his name was Steve, and she still carries his last name, so Steve Zubek. When they got together and they got married, he immediately took the role of an honest, healthy male figure. And he made it a point throughout all the years they were together to be not only supportive and loving, but to be a model, to be an example if it was just a simple dynamic of, hey, how you doing? Or the full on, you know what I mean, comedic, loving, cool, pop, rode motorcycles. But also in the same element, if you fucking crossed him, he would burn you fucking down. He had no hesitation. He would fight to whatever limit to protect the things that he loved and that were important to him, but he did them honestly and he did them with honor. And he became the core with my mother in rebuilding that dynamic of our family. And he fought a lot of battles with his health. And him and my mother, they made it a point to not only juggle that, but to maintain the elements of the family for the next generation, for the grandkids and such and everything like that. And his passing, okay, was painful, okay? And I can honestly say it, his loss meant more than the loss of my real father. I was glad, I'm not going to fucking lie, when my real father passed, because it was like, finally, the shit show's off, you know, it's over. He can't fucking hurt anybody anymore. I felt the same way about when my kid's mother passed. She was just such a fucking destructive force that it was just like, thank God this particular nightmare is over. I hate to say it, for some people, this world will never be right. Yeah. See, the old man was a coward. See, Steve came from an old school dynamic, you know. He wasn't one of those dirty drug dealing kind of bikers, but he was definitely one of those, you don't want to fuck with him bikers, okay? But he was also intelligent. He was a hard worker, but he was compassionate, okay? But again, he didn't play fucking games. And especially in that old world dynamic, he was one of the people that showed me in the dynamic that you can be a man, you can be strong, you can even be tough without being abusive, without being misogynistic, and without overplaying a particular dynamic, using the context in action of things like honor and compassion, tolerance, patience, that you don't always have to react, but if you have to, you do it convincingly and you don't fuck around. So, yes, welcome to my box of shit. How the fuck did this happen? All right, so this is where I'm going to cut to another one of the bands that are going to be playing for the WRFC Rock Show October 7th. The House of Guitars, really iconic place up here. Really, really cool people. It's going to be an outdoor event. It's going to be a free event. Going to be a bunch of bands, and one of those bands that's mentioned is Hollowell. Really, really good band. They've kind of got a real interesting combination, a little bit with the punk and the rock, but with a really nice, polished sound. Really been digging on them, and I'm looking forward to sharing the stage with them. So we're going to cut to some Hollowell, and then we'll be back.
Staring death in her eyes. What's it matter? It's just another night. Treat the poison they don't condone.
Yeah, a little bit of Hollowell, No Wings. Again, they'll be performing October 7th at the WRRC Rock Show at the House of Guitars. Listen, I don't know what this is about this fucking trend tonight. It's like I start playing a band, and then they show up. So I'm talking about Hollowell, and then Teresa Bidwell shows up, who is one of the members of Hollowell. She is the voice that you just heard on that track. Incredible musician. She's also a parent. She's a real person. You know what I mean? She's not a fucking Facebook meme. And this is what really keeps everything going. It's not all these fucking illusionary things. It's the little things. It's the people that we know. It's how we interact, not only with ourselves, but the examples we set for our children. And music is one of the most important gifts, the tool, the magic that we have to translate a lot of it, because not everybody understands everything in the same way, be it a language barrier, be it just simple context. But music cuts through all of that. You don't have to necessarily even understand the fucking words to get the vibe, the energy off of it. You know, some music is going to make you just kind of want to get up and fucking scream. And other music is just going to make you want to lay down and just, you know, kind of cuddle with somebody. It doesn't matter what those words are. It's the feeling. It's the energy. It is the magic that is wrapped in it. And these are, again, just words that we put on things because that's all we have historically. And I'm a big fan of history because I believe that that's where we really need to look to understand and set the stage for the future. But from a historical context, our perceptions have really shifted based on other people's bullshit. If you look at lore, a lot of the quote-unquote demons and devils and the bad guys all started off as something different. But for different reasons, be it political or religious or cultural, whatever, they became demonized. They became something else. And there are many examples of it. You can see it within many of the Nordic elements from the transition from the quote-unquote pagan to Christianity, how the gods and their characters were shifted. You saw it within the Egyptian lore. You've seen it all across the board. You know what I mean? Now, in the here and now, I like to point the finger at the fucking Catholic Church because I was raised in the old Roman Catholic dynamic, and you know, I realized, you know, how much of it was just really smoke and mirrors. It was bullshit. And that's not to take away from real faith. That's not to take away from spirituality. That's not to say that the characters involved maybe were or weren't there or didn't say. But in a simplest analogy, if you're standing up talking about a dynamic from a guy, we'll call this guy Jesus, who talked about love and compassion. This guy hung out with lepers and whores. He threw the bankers out on their ass. And if you're claiming to speak for this fucking guy, and your whole rhetoric is kill the gays, or any number of these fucking ridiculous bullshit analogies, guess what? You're full of shit. You don't speak for him. You don't speak for me. You don't speak for many of us. And I'm not going to fucking subscribe to that. And I'm going to call that shit out for what it is. Okay? Now, again, true faith, true belief, regardless of whatever that is, whatever face or name you want to put on it, that can be beautiful. It can be powerful. Words mean nothing without actions. I use the dead parrot analogy, but you can teach a parrot to recite scripture, and it doesn't mean a fucking thing. It's mimicry. It's an illusion. And most of our societal elements are driven by fucking illusions. Dress like this. Eat this, eat that. Now, granted, yeah, certain things from a healthy thing, but 95% of it is just, again, it is corporate marketing, it is manipulation, it's weaponized empathy, it's a whole lot of bullshit designed to keep people in check, to keep them thinking in a particular way, because they don't really want us thinking for ourselves. Okay, the last time that happened in France, guess what happened? Okay, people lost their fucking heads. Okay? And if you go back a little bit further in history, you know, what happened to Rome? Well, yeah, it's not there anymore. Okay. Hell, you want to go even further back? Look at Egypt. What did they do? They parted the Red Sea and they got the fuck out of there. They sent frogs and plagues and all that shit down. They're like, let us the fuck out. Now, all these elements have some basis in some element of truth. It's not hard to connect the dots and say, well, if you have one group of people that are using another group of people as slaves and raping them and killing them and treating them like fucking animals, eventually that group of people is going to rise up and say, fuck you, we're out. Does that have any relevance today? I don't know. Maybe. Yes, and that is a dead bishop on the landing, as my mother said. But this is the insanity. This is, again, we don't have to agree on everything. I get it. We have different particular perspectives on things. But I would say, again, just from a simple element, if we want to talk in an honest context, nobody wants to be told that they can't love somebody. Nobody wants to be told how to live their lives. So I submit that if you don't want somebody telling you how to live your life, don't fucking tell anybody else how to live their life. I'll give you an example. My personal opinion, okay, take it or leave it. As a man, I am absolutely fucking appalled, offended, and embarrassed by the fact that men are still trying to tell women what to do with their fucking body. Please. Fucking good grief, man. Okay? Every man on this planet would be losing their fucking minds if women stepped up and said, guess what? We're going to tell you what you can and can't do with your dick now. It would never fly. So in what reality do we think any of us have a right to tell women what to do with their body? It's not rocket science. Leave them the fuck alone. Sexuality. Who gives a fuck who's fucking who unless they're fucking you? Maybe the problem is you want to be fucked and you're not getting fucked. Okay. But why should everybody else pay for that? And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody out here, per se, so I want to make sure I clarify that. But again, this isn't complicated stuff. If people want to engage with each other, now I'm not saying that is, obviously depending on context, because I'm sure there's a freak out there who says, well, if I want to have a sex with an 8-year-old boy, I should be able to. No, fuck you. Okay? That's different. Context matters. But if you're an adult, okay, and it's based in an honest and healthy, and I'll put that in quote marks because not everybody agrees on what's healthy. Shia is continually trying to want to chain me up and wrap me in saran wrap and shit, but I'm a wolf. I don't play that way. It gets stuck in my fur. So, but, we all have a different interpretation of what is what and how we feel, what we like, what we don't like. But again, in the same analogy, who cares? Unless it's affecting you or yours somehow. You know what I mean? And it just, again, if we could just find that little bit of common ground, we could avoid a whole lot of the bullshit. We could stop some of the problems that we're having, because in the end, collateral damage is a real thing. It doesn't matter if it's your fault. It doesn't matter if you're right. When other people are doing fucked up things, guess what? All bets are off. TMI on the saran wrap? Yes, my mother doesn't want it. Hey, Ma, listen, you of all people should know. I've been doing this a couple of years now. You're the one that taught me. Do not be afraid to use language and comedy in that. And it is my hope, and again, I say this in all seriousness, not so much to offend or to shock, but to really try and create an imagery that people can relate to kind of simplify it. And, comedy is a great tool, but sometimes we have to be shocked because so much of everything around us is kind of anesthetized us. We're apathetic to it. We see so much horror and bullshit on the TV and media and everything like that. We're just like, well, what the fuck else could? And so it loses value. So that's why I kind of try. And, some of this also too, as mentioned, is my own shadow work, is my own personal defense for my sanity. I've learned that I can't just walk around with this all pent up inside of me because it'll come out no matter what I want. So I'd rather try and, kind of a controlled burn. And then I can use it to segue to hopefully entertain, maybe educate, support other musicians and artists and personalities and just everyday people and whatever is going on. It is a place a lot of times where, people will come to vent. I'll vent. We'll laugh. We'll joke. We'll rant. Hopefully, again, you get something out of it. I like to, again, I'm still here. I haven't been shut down. You know what I mean? I pretty much have been doing this on my own. I don't have corporate sponsors. Like I said, it was really the first time I've come on here and said, hey, listen, if you could help out for the WRFC Rock Show, we have a GoFundMe going where every dollar counts to really keep a nonprofit radio station going on. And, I use the analogy example. When I was growing up, my mother would always expose us to PBS and all the different things that PBS brought as a nonprofit entity, stuff that you wouldn't see or hear on any of the commercial TV stations, as limited as they were back in the day. You had like 5 or 6 options, but they brought things that actually made a difference. They were involved in different elements of things, to whatever degree, they were able to, based on the time period and their resources. But I'd like to believe it's a good model. Okay. I like to believe from my own personal experiences. It's not to say that every business is bad. Yeah, we have to have business to keep everything moving. But in the same analogy, this whole pay to play mentality really destroys the magic of it. Okay. There are a lot of good bands, a lot of good musicians out there, a lot of good artists, writers, performers, whatever, end of the spectrum they're on, witches, wizards, healers, practitioners. And they're kind of limited because if you don't have the corporate backing, there's no way to get out there. It's not like, there are many other options. So we're taking an old school dynamic and we're kind of applying it into a new world scenario. And hence you have Rochester Free Radio. So yeah, you can check that out on Facebook and social media. You'll see it on my page, Shia's page. You'll see it all over the place. You see my brother Jonathan, okay? He's showing up, coming in all late, end of the show. You missed your whole shout out, man. I did a whole promo thing on you and the track and blah, blah, blah. You're the only one that fucked it up tonight. Everybody, literally, I talked about everybody else and they showed up. But you come across. See, I'm fucking with him because he and I have that. Because he really is my brother. I love this guy. And as mentioned, we are working on another track. So you'll have to go back and watch the podcast and enjoy your, I think it was probably 11 and a half minutes of fame. Not quite the 15 minutes of fame, but, inflation and taxes these days. I guess all we get is 11 and a half minutes. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Really honored to be a part of it. A lot of really good stuff. You got the Rockin' Oddities Con, October 28th, 29th. You've got our show, October 7th. October 7th at the House of Guitars. You got the Arts for Autism going on in Union Beach, New Jersey, September 23rd. Depending upon where you are, if you can get out, show them some love. If you can't be there, give them a like, give them a share on Facebook or social media. Let them know, take what you need, leave the rest behind. So I'm going to close it out tonight with one final track. And I'm going to go back to my brother Pete Palace and their band Annika, because I've been really digging on this track. I played it last week, but I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to close out the show with it. It's a little bit, I think it's like 8.5 minutes. But Pete started working on it years ago, and and it was influenced and reflected by his relationship with a professional wrestler. For those of you who watched wrestling back in the day, you'll remember him as the Ultimate Warrior. And Pete became friends with him, wrote music for his last performances when he got into the Wrestling Hall of Fame and stuff like that. And this track was born out of their friendship, and it actually features him at the end with a spoken piece by Emerson. And it's a really powerful reflection, not only about our perceptions of things, but not unlike what Jonathan and I did with the Time of the Phoenix, that time is not something that's static. It moves at different speeds depending upon where you are, what's going on. Time flies. Father Time, again, not unlike Mother Nature, doesn't give a fuck what you think, doesn't care what you believe, has no literal conception of your concept or right or wrong or anything of that. It simply is, and it flows based on, whatever is going on at the time. There's an old analogy, time flies when you're having fun. Well, that's relative of the energy when you're having fun that shifts the dynamic of time. And when you're feeling like shit, or if you're sitting in an office and you don't want to be there and you're watching that clock, guess what? That negative energy, it fucking slows time. So every minute crawls. Come back here, you rabbit. You see where I'm going? Now, we're just limited by perception because we don't understand how time really works, but it is also, obviously, as Einstein said, relevant to energy. Coincidences? No. But this is how we start piecing the pieces together and understanding better. Christine, thank you for joining us. You have a blessed night. Thank you very much. I appreciate the compliments. We all deal with it, brother. Jonathan says, been dealing with that myself. Yeah, I've been struggling with it. We all struggle with it. We have highs or lows. But Father Time is universal. Okay? It affects us all, whether we like it or not. So I'm going to close it out. And let me just, here it is. Yes. Okay. Yes, Monica says she hates it when time goes slow, waiting for the clock. That's why she quit the job that she didn't love. Listen, great analogy. We've all been through it. It's context. It happens at different points for different reasons. Okay? But the one common element is that time flows. Okay? So until next time, know that you're loved. Try and love each other. Please go on YouTube, Facebook, social media. Give us a like. Subscribe, share. If you can donate to the WRFC GoFundMe, that would be great. Whatever you can do. Shia will be on tomorrow night with another run of her Dancing with Witches, where she does all the Tara and Mystic stuff, because she's a witch and that's what she does, and she's really good at it. So definitely check her out tomorrow night. I'll be back again Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WRFC Rochester Free Radio. And then I'll be back that following Tuesday with another episode of the podcast. So enjoy Annika, the Father Time trilogy. And until next time.
For the time, the lessons that I've learned, the lesions that I've earned were so unkind, so unkind. Feeding mind, the forces that decide in your heads reside. You're so divine, so divine. Wasted time. The heartache that you spurn, the faith that you burn, it was all mine, all mine. Forsaken by my Father Time. lessons that I've learned, the lesions that I've earned were so unkind, so unkind. Fading mind, the forces that decide in your hands reside. You're so divine, so divine. Wasted time, the heartache that you slurred, the faith that you burned, it was all mine, all mine. Forsaken by my father time.
Believe your own thought. To believe that what is true for you in your private heart is true for all men, that is genius. Speak your latent conviction and it shall be the universal sense. For always the inmost becomes the outmost, and our first thought is rendered back to us by the trumpets of the last judgment. Familiar as the voice of the mind is to each, the highest merit we ascribe to Moses, Plato, and Milton is that they set at naught books and traditions and spoke not what men, what they thought. Man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Yet, he dismisses without notice his thought, because it is his. In every work of genius, we recognize our own rejected thoughts. They come back to us with a certain alienated majesty. They teach us to abide by our spontaneous impression, good humor and flexibility, then most when the whole cry of voices is on the other side. Else tomorrow, a stranger will say, with masterly good sense, precisely what we have thought and felt all the time. And we shall be forced to take with shame our own opinion from another. Bravely let him speak the utmost syllable of his confession. We but half express ourselves and are ashamed of that divine idea which each of us represents. But God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. Good night.